Hello, I'm James Ezimoha. Welcome to Africa News, where we'll bring you the latest updates from across the African continent. Let's see your headlines. Angola to hold peace talks between DR Congo and M23 rebels next week. European Union leaders pledge a €4.7 billion investment package in South Africa. South Africa President Cyril Ramaphosa and European Union leaders renew calls for peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. Thank you for joining us. We begin in Angola, where plans to hold potential peace talks between the DR Congo and the M23 rebels are in place for next week. However, the government hasn't officially confirmed that it will participate. It follows the announcement that Southern African forces are withdrawing from Eastern Congo.
The Democratic Republic of Congo's potential peace talks with M23 rebels have sparked mixed reactions in Kinshasa and Bukavu. Angola plans to host the negotiations next week, marking the first direct talks between Congo and M23 rebels. While the government hasn't confirmed participation, sources say the proposal is under serious consideration. In Kinshasa, some question the value of discussions.
The president decided years ago, quote, "I will never dialogue with dogs. I will never dialogue with thieves, killers." And today, when he agrees to dialogue with these people he had described in this way, where are we going? Why he has accepted, and what will it bring to the life of the Congolese people? It's a dialogue that hasn't brought anything for a long time.
This year, the rebel group took control of Goma and Bukavu, which saw thousands of people being killed. Hundreds of thousands of people have fled their homes because of the violence. For some of those in Bukavu, they believe the only hope for peace is through dialogue.
As Africans, when there are problems, people from the same family sit around a table and discuss to find solutions. This is why we call on all warring parties to sit around a table and talk about Congo, to talk as Congolese about the problems that are currently ours. We hope, therefore, since dialogues are already underway, the population will be relieved and that we can finally live in the peace we seek so much.
Meanwhile, it's reported that the M23 group says it welcomes the talks, but urges the DRC president, Felix Tshisekedi, to commit publicly. He's always refused to engage in negotiations with the group in the past. It comes as the Southern African Development Community prepares to withdraw its troops from Congo. They have spent 2 years supporting the Congolese army to fight the rebel group.
Doctors in Eastern Congo are facing growing challenges as Mpox cases continue to rise. At Bakovi International Hospital, medical teams are treating patients under strict isolation measures while navigating a fragile security situation. The outbreak persists as conflict in the region disrupts healthcare access and response efforts.
At the forefront of the crisis, Professor Birindwa leads efforts to treat Mpox patients in Bukavu, where an ongoing outbreak adds pressure to an already strained health system. Patient admissions have increased in recent weeks, with cases fluctuating between 15 and 20, signalling continued transmission. Patients report improvement as they continue receiving treatment at the hospital.
I arrived here Wednesday evening. They asked me to lie on this bed, which I did. Then, doctors started injecting me with medicine. After Wednesday, they told me they would apply other treatments to private areas, but they haven't done that yet. They continued the injections, and now I'm starting to feel better.
Despite the challenges, medical teams remain committed to containment measures while ensuring free treatment and care.
During this crisis, our situation has been unique. When the crisis began, we took time to talk with our patients to reassure them. We explained we wouldn't abandon them, that we would stay with them. Because of this, we haven't had patients fleeing centres or emptying camps. All have remained under our care. And since we provide free care and food, this has given them some guarantee and stability.
The outbreak highlights the added burden on Congo's healthcare system, already struggling with conflict-driven displacement and resource shortages. With Mpox cases still emerging, health officials continue working to prevent further spread despite the region's instability.
European Union leaders have pledged a 4.7 billion euros investment in South Africa, focusing on energy and vaccine production. The announcement comes as both regions face strained ties with the United States over foreign policy and economic disputes. The visit also serves to mend EU-South Africa relations after tensions over Russia's war in Ukraine.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and other EU leaders unveiled a multi-billion-dollar investment package in Pretoria, aiming to strengthen economic and political ties with Africa's most industrialized nation. The funding will support South Africa's clean energy transition and vaccine manufacturing, key sectors for economic and health security. European Union Commission President Ursula von der Leyen outlined the investment priorities, emphasizing shared economic and health interests.
Today, we are together announcing an investment package to mobilize 4.7 billion euro in South Africa, and this is in both our interest. It includes funding for the clean energy transition, but also funding to boost vaccine manufacturing. South Africa wants to protect the health of its people as well as your autonomy and your local industries. We Europeans want to diversify some of our most critical supply chains, and we know that viruses know no borders. So that is what I call a true mutual interest.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa addressed the broader global challenges that shape economic cooperation.
This summit is taking place at a time of global uncertainty. A global uncertainty which we spoke a little bit about in our tete-a-tete, which is characterized by rising unilateralism, economic nationalism, and a retreat from what we've always wanted to advance, which is adherence to international law, a world order that seeks to advance all nations, which is also departing from what we would call human rights culture.
The EU's financial commitment comes as South Africa prepares to lead discussions at the G20, a platform where the country has faced US criticism over its foreign policy stance. With Europe also at odds with Washington over trade and security issues, analysts see this visit as a strategic move to bolster alternative partnerships.
South Africa President Cyril Ramaphosa and European leaders attending the South Africa-EU summit in Cape Town have renewed calls for a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. It's ahead of Ukrainian president's visit to South Africa in April to discuss diplomatic efforts.
During the first bilateral summit between the European Union and South Africa in Cape Town in 7 years, there were renewed calls for a peaceful resolution to the ongoing war in Ukraine. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen called for dialogue between Russia and Ukraine, stressing the need for both nations to seek a peaceful resolution amid ongoing conflict in the region.
The people of Ukraine, and indeed the people of Russia, need more peace than anyone else in the world. And our task is to urge them, to encourage them, to nudge them in the way of finding a peaceful solution. That will be our key message as President Zelensky comes here. And indeed, I should add that we continue to send the same message to President Putin, as we believe that both countries, both of them, are the key role players in this, and all of us others who are on the side can just encourage them to move forward with the peace process.
And the EU says they're hoping for a long-lasting ceasefire.
No one deserves more peace than the people of Ukraine. And therefore, it was also a topic among us here at the summit. It is important that we work for just and lasting peace for Ukraine. I was very pleased to hear that President Zelensky is visiting here at the beginning of April. We exchanged view on a process that has to lead on both sides for an engagement that we have a true peace agreement, not only a ceasefire, but also a true peace agreement. And therefore, it was for us very important to exchange the views on how to get there.
Zelensky's visit to South Africa next month is expected to focus on peace talks and Ukraine's relations with Africa. Meanwhile, the EU continues its push for diplomatic solutions to the war.
Renowned South Africa chef Siba Mtongana is redefining fine dining with African flavors. Her Cape Town restaurant has won back-to-back awards for the best fine dining hotel restaurant in Africa. Now she's using her platform to bring African cuisine into the world.
Siba Mtongana's restaurant has become a symbol of African culinary excellence, attracting global icons and winning major awards. The celebrated chef says that her travels opened her eyes to the lack of African representation in high-end cuisine. That realization inspired her to create a restaurant where South African flavors take center stage. Mtongana says her global experiences made her aware of how little African cuisine is represented internationally.
Part of the reason why I opened a restaurant was because having traveled the world, and it came with the network, with Food Network, because I had part of my contract was I needed to travel to different spaces and places where my show was doing very well. So I've had the privilege of traveling the world, eating in the best spaces, eating the best, being accommodated in the best places in the world. I realized that there is so little of anything African, let alone South African. If you know what a dombolo is, which is a traditionally steamed bun or bread, which I made into buns, mini buns, you can go like, oh wow, I never thought a dombolo can be this fluffy, you know? Oh my gosh, it's like eating clouds. It's so airy, it's so you must have a thing in your mind that says, wow, I didn't know our food could be like this.
Mtongana's restaurant is more than just a dining destination. According to her, it's a cultural statement. She hopes to inspire more African chefs to bring their heritage to the global fine dining scene.
Well, that's all we have today in African News. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to A News.